The following podcast is a Dear Media production.
Welcome back to Probably a Podcast. We've got a regular schmegular on the podcast today, and that is TT. Welcome back, I should say. Also, this episode is going to be recapping Very Cavallari. I've been trying to sprinkle them here and there. I told you I wouldn't do them all back to back, so that's what this is going to be. We are going to be recapping, ready? It's a double whammy, okay? The bases are loaded. It is a recap of episodes 4 and 5. This actually worked out beautifully. We just had Reagan on for the episode 3 recap of Very Cavallari, and Taylor has a lot of interesting stuff happen to her in both episodes, so I figured we smush them together. Catch me up to speed. Your daughter just went to fucking Kindergarden. I can't believe
she went to kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Oh my god! Taylor wrote it on the. Sorry, she
Did
wrote
you see
it.
that?
She wrote it on the sign. The sign that everyone holds up for their kids when they go to school, like first day of, and then it's like first grade or whatever. My favorite food is. My teacher is. My favorite color is. Taylor is spelled kindergarten, Garden
with a D.
But I thought that was really funny today when you posted with all the plants.
Yeah, you thought it was funny now because I'm making fun of myself.
Should I say kindergarten?
I'm doing it so people can laugh with me, not at me anymore.
Okay, I laughed with you today. All right, so big things happening. So normally with these episodes, we talk a little bit about what we were doing pre-Very Cavallari, and then at the end of the episode, we talk about what we were doing after Very Cavallari. Everyone knows what you're doing after because you're on the podcast all the time, but let's talk a little bit. Let's bring ourselves back to 2000. When did we do this? 2015? 16?
What?
17, 18.
17,
I want it to be longer ago so bad.
I know. Wait, Walker was born in 2018.
So we filmed in 2008, 17.
17.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it took a minute to get picked up, right?
Yeah, well, I've already talked about all that, how it was like.
How long did it take to get picked up?
Forever. Like when we did the math, me and Worth sat here and did it. I think it was an hour and a half. It was a year and a half from
got picked up in an hour and a half.
It got picked up in an hour and a half, guys. We're that good. Fucking shit. No, it took like a year and a half from like conception to like reality.
Right.
So where were you? I mean, we were together. We were BFFs. What were you doing in 2017? Where were you working? What were you doing?
I was working at a social media marketing company at the time. They like trick you into thinking that you're going to like work on Instagram and in social media, which is like what I wanted to do. And instead I was like a salesperson making cold calls and I had to make like 15 to 20 something a day and it was awkward.
Horrible.
Actually 15 to 20 something is like a low number. I think they wanted us to make like 50. And I was like, I'm absolutely not doing this. Like that is not my personality. That like shut down.
That was when I worked at the law firm and you and I were just fucking
we were so miserable.
Which really helped us because I know you thought it would be a cool opportunity to be on reality TV, but remember I was really against it first and I was like, I don't know about this, and you were like, Shannon, what else are we doing?
I know. I was like, what else are we? Look at what we're doing. Can we have an excuse to leave these jobs? We were miserable.
Yeah, and I was like, you're so right. What the fuck are we doing?
I would have like a 30-minute lunch break, and you would have like an hour.
They only gave her. Was that normal? They only gave her 30 minutes for lunch break. I thought that was crazy. I got an hour.
Pretty wild. Not to mention we were in the middle of nowhere, so you would drive to meet me, and we would just meet at Waffle House.
I would spend 30 minutes of my lunch break driving to and from, and then we would spend her only 30-minute lunch break because I would drive. The place across the street from you was Waffle House.
Waffle House, the only place to eat. We would just sit there and cry.
We had so many lunch breaks at Waffle House, and I remember being like, I can't believe I'm spending half my lunch break driving to her. But then I'd be like, wow, this is so helpful though.
God, we hated it.
Oh, we hated it.
Anyway, the show came about, and we were like, what else? Yeah, I did have to convince you for a minute.
Yeah,
which is shocking.
I think that is actually so shocking. If anyone, like, if you were to put a gun to someone's head, they'd be like, no, 100% Shannon was dying to be on reality TV.
She had to convince
beg Taylor to be on it. Yeah. No.
Yeah, no. I was like, give me any excuse to leave this job that I'm in.
So true. Okay, so let's recap episode 4 and 5. So episode 3, as you remember, was the big blowout with me and Reagan. We got in this big fight, whatever. So I will say, I only saw this because when I started episode 4, it said previously on Very Cavallari, and it had episode 3 at the very end. Kristen does say, It was like basically there was a scene at the very end of episode 3 where you've already been told you could have the job from Brittany when we all went to lunch or dinner, which was pretty like construed. Yeah. And then Kristen does say, which is, we're going to get into this. So as I've said before, this show was like honestly pretty real from start to finish. There's not been many moments that were like contrived or faked. Like there was hardly anything in the show that was like straight up faked. Okay. except for these 2 episodes. Like these 2 episodes, what I would venture to say the most faked things for TV, right?
Heavily fictional.
Heavily fictional. So we'll break all that down, like break the fourth wall and kind of tell you the behind the scenes. But basically, before the show ever even started filming, they were trying to characterize us, like where we would be and what our roles would be with the show and with Uncommon James and with Kristen, because everything had to tie back to Kristen and the store, of course, because that was what the show was based on. And so for a while there, it was like me and obviously I was going to do the social media because I did. Brittany actually also already worked at the store, and then like everyone else started having these jobs. Remember, as we talked about in Worth's episode, he never actually worked for the store. He was never actually on payroll. His was a pretty like kind of like faked roundabout way to say he was a part of the like store. And Taylor we'd always said she would be the model because she actually had modeled for Uncommon James before. She was you were working for, or that was like, part of the show too. Like, well, no, I used those photos, so
I did technically do that one job, but like I feel like
no, you got paid. You got paid.
Right. No, I guess you're right. I forgot.
Yeah, it was a photo shoot. You got paid. It was before. Yeah, it was 100%. And I use those photos all the time. And you got hired through your modeling agency, through Mark Block.
Right.
So anyways, that was always going to be her role in it. Well, then we started filming, and I think they realized, well, we don't have a photo shoot every day, and it's hard to like tie her into the storyline other than just being Shannon's friend. And I actually remember in the beginning of the show, it pops up and it says like Shannon Ford, social media manager, Brittany, store manager, Reagan, assistant, and then it says like Taylor, Shannon's friend, and you were like, what the fuck?
No, but do you remember when they announced us as the cast? When
yes.
the whole thing came out.
Yes.
It had me titled
Model. I remember.
They were the ones that the producers, everyone that creating the show, they were the ones that were like, hold on, you can't just have a storyline being Shannon's friend.
Yeah.
So that's when they came to me and were like, we need you to work at the store to have a more of a prominent role in the show. And I was like, okay, well, doing what? Because I'm not going to like, we always referred to it as doll. What are they called? Oh my God. Dash dolls?
Oh, the Dash dolls.
I was like, I'm not going to be a Dash doll.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, sure. Give me a job. I'm just not going to work the retail. I'm not going to be retail.
She didn't want to work the front desk. She was like, I'm not just going to be like checking people out.
Right.
And they were like, okay, well, okay, sounds good. We'll figure out a role for you. They came up with model. And then they realized that it wouldn't really work. So they were like, listen, I'll never forget this. They told her, Taylor, you need to work the front desk, but it is literally just so we can say you'll never even have. And Taylor was like, listen, I don't want to work there actually. And they were like, it's just for the show.
Yeah.
You will not actually work many hours there. It's just we need to put you there so that you're in the store when we're filming so that we can have these conversations and you and Shannon can film together and it can make more sense. You can't just keep filming at Shannon's like house or apartment. So will you agree to work retail for just like the show's purposes? And Taylor's like, yeah, I'll do that.
Steven, one of our producers, was like, you don't actually have to have this job. This is like specifically for show. I was like, okay, I just want to make it clear that this is only for the show. Like, I'm not actually leaving my job to do this, right? Or at the time, I guess I didn't have.
You didn't have a job anymore, but like,
but I was like,
you're not. I didn't want to do this. Yeah. So exactly. So Steven had said that to you, and then this is an important part to note too, and no one knows this because this wasn't filmed except for.
But that's what I was getting to. Is I made this very clear to producers, to everyone with the show, that I was like, this is just for TV. Kristen
had texted you. Yeah, so
on the other hand, text me
like months earlier
prior
to
and
filming.
Was like, hey, should I pull it up?
Okay, so to be clear, this is before we ever started filming the show. This was when we were just trying to get roles for like the store, like company.
Okay, so this is December 14th, 2017.
Kristen already knew that she was going to be on the show.
Yeah, I was already cast, but like 2017. Wow, this is before. Wow. 3:36 p.m.
Okay.
She goes, we were talking about something else because she texted me about a date. We were doing something else. And then she goes, also, I meant to ask you earlier, I'm in the process of opening up a store.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did I not already know that? Because maybe the store wasn't going to be an actual flagship.
That is so true. Originally, because her company was just online, and then she decided later on, I think I'm going to buy a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I meant to ask you this earlier. I'm in the process of really opening up a store. Would you want to work there a couple days a week? Does that interest you at all? I said,
I was sitting with Kristen in her house whenever Taylor I was like, yeah, just text her.
Okay, so I respond back and I say, so I definitely want to help you out, but if I'm being completely honest, retail isn't something that I want to get back into right now just because of other things I have going on with crazy schedules. The jobs Mark is booking me for right now seem to be out of town a lot, so I'm always traveling. I don't want to feel like working at the store I don't feel like working at the store would be something that's smart for me right now.
Were you talking about when Mark was booking you to like go to California?
Yeah,
and stuff?
I was like shooting for Zappos in Vegas and stuff like that, like always flying.
And I remember
I was always traveling.
I was always traveling. I was a model. What can you do? And you're a supermodel. What can you do?
Worldwide, what model over here?
I remember Kristen looked at me and she goes, "Oh, okay. Taylor just said no."
Look, she goes, "Okay, I'm glad you're honest."
Yeah.
Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Exclamation
Yeah.
point!
And I was like,
I love that I still have this.
She was like, "Oh, Taylor just said no," and I had to like act surprised, even though Taylor had already told me like I don't want to work retail.
Like, fuck no.
And so I was like, "Oh, she said no." She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, well, yeah, I'd rather her be honest." And I was like, "Yeah." And it really wasn't that big of a deal for them. Again, we already explained everything. We start filming the show, and Steven, the producer, is like, "You need to do this. Like, just get a job."
She said it wasn't a big deal, but turns out it was quite a big deal.
I know you guys hear me talk about this all the time, but that is that life is not perfect, okay? We got highs, we got lows. And the fun part about this podcast and the platforms that I share on the internet is I like to show them all, okay? I've been through a lot this year, really fun stuff, really exciting moments of life, but also some not so great moments that I really needed to work through personally. And I like to do that with a therapist. I think it's really important and transparent to tell you that I think it's one of the most special things you can give yourself. And let me tell you something. You might think that you don't need it, but I promise you it'll make you feel so fulfilled after you go to therapy. But I get it. Listen, it's daunting. It's daunting trying to find a therapist. It's daunting to wonder if you can afford it. And I have a lot of friends who actually just gave up on the search because it took them forever and they felt uncomfortable when therapy is supposed to be the exact opposite of that. But listen, you've got to find the right person for you. Now that's the hard part, right? Because it's such a personal preference. And for me, I use Talkspace to find my therapist because it is exactly the tool that you need for finding the right professional for you. It was very convenient to speak to them online. And me personally, I like taking my therapy sessions from the place that I feel the most comfortable, which is my home. I love that my therapy sessions are just online. Okay. So they're at the ease and comfort of a space that I want to be in, that I feel comfortable in, not to mention the affordability of it all. And do we need a helping hand? Yes. But can we all afford it all the time? No, not always. So that's why Talkspace is really, really passionate about making therapy accessible to everyone. Okay. They even have a policy that allows you to cancel and get a prorated refund for unused time should you need to do that, which is fantastic. Like, I don't know anyone else that offers that. And a lot of people, I feel like, wait until something really bad happens to them for them to go to therapy. But I'm here to tell you that some of my best therapy sessions were just when I was really happy and sharing happy moments that I was able to process as well. It's really the most cathartic thing that I've ever given to myself. And I think that we should all be doing it at all stages and phases in our lives. Therapy can help you shift your perspective too, which I always need. I always need a perspective shift, okay? Finding tools to cope in difficult times, and frankly, just being a guiding light is something that I love my therapist for. So Talkspace can help you with any specific challenges that you might be facing. And get this, it's the #1 online therapy platform with licensed therapists in over 40 specialties. So that's including anxiety, depression, substance abuse, relationship issues, and so much more. And as a listener of this podcast, you will get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/probably and you enter promo code SPACE80. So to match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com/probably and enter the promo code SPACE80. You'll get $80 off your first month, and that is Talkspace.com/probably promo code SPACE80.
Kristen and I had this conversation where she asked me to work for her at the store. I turned it down. I was like, I don't want to be retail, but I was like, let me know about any other job because like I'll help out. Yeah, for sure. The show. And then fast forward all these months, Steven's like, hey,
we're in the thick of filming.
We're in the thick of filming. Steven's like, it's not realistic to be the model for the show. Like that's just like not a real thing. So like, you can't just be Shannon's friends. Like we got to find an actual job for you, especially to have like more screen time and stuff like that.
They
so,
needed her in the store and around the store
right.
stuff.
He's like, in order for you to do that, you got to be on the team in the store. And I was like, okay. And he's like, so you don't have to be a real job. We'll just do it for show. So that's kind of where we landed with that. Basically, he tells me that, and I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, just tell me what time to be at the store so I can start working. He's like, hold on. You got to like apply for the show.
Oh, yeah.
You got to apply for the job.
We covered that in the last episode because it was whenever all the interviews with Reagan and Brittany.
That was a big deal to me because that's how I got duped.
Right.
Like that's like the biggest thing to me is that Steven was like, oh yeah, small part that I skipped is that you do have to like have a fake interview scene. And he literally called it a fake interview scene.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, but not a real one. He's like, no, totally fake, just for show. He's like, we have to like segue you into like being at the store and not all of a sudden just having this job.
And all the other girls were interviewing too, to be fair. Yeah.
So that's where I was like, oh, right. Okay. So everyone's in on this. Right?
Wait, and it's so true too, because when I was rewatching the show, you really were not taking the interview seriously. And I was like, take it more seriously. And you're like, why?
I'm like, why? This is fake. Remember?
Okay, so let's start back. The very end of the episode is Kristen saying to me, Reagan, and Brittany, like, why did you tell Taylor she could work here? Like, I need to interview her like everyone else. And we were like, oh, sorry. Like, we thought she had retail experience. It'd be fine. And Kristen does say, and I quote, I blatantly asked her if she wanted to work for me and she told me no. And so I remember going like this, like, oh yeah, well that's true, but like this is a fake jump. So what does it matter? And so I was like, I go like this. I say, but now she sees it would be fun. It's like retail that she'd enjoy. Now that all her friends work here, I think this would be really fun. And Kristen's line, which I feel like got posted all over all the time, was, this isn't a sorority. This is a business. Yeah. I mean, we already talked about how she was like, this is a business. This is a business. But like she said, this isn't a sorority. This is a business. Okay, then let's go to episode 4. So we start recapping episode 4. Kristen and Jay are talking about house stuff. They're moving. There's a photo shoot scene. Kristen asked me about Reagan, blah, 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 how the fight went. I was like, like she really just accosted me. I felt so off guard, whatever. I also should note that I said, like, I called Kristen dude, and I'm like, it really is crazy to me. Like, when I look back at how I spoke to her, I know we were friends, and she says in this episode, she'll say, like, the lines are blurred, but like, I really did not speak to her like an employee should speak to her boss. I was like, dude, you know what I'm talking about? Like, who would talk to their boss that way? Anyways, okay. Now there's a scene where we are at Fido. Fido is a really popular coffee house in Nashville. And let's talk about the purple elephant in the room for a second. I'm wearing this Forever 21 fur coat. What the fuck? Like, I actually can't even believe. I look back at this and I'm like, Taylor said it best. What did you say earlier? Whenever I showed you a scene.
Oh, I said I need this to be at least 25 years ago.
Yeah, like I go
fact
facts.
That it's just a couple is upsetting.
The fact that it is 2024 and let's call it 2025, we're close enough. But the fact that it's 2025 and that was only 8 years ago, really, I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't like that I looked like that. Like, you know that Reagan sat here during our recap episode and I was like, I look so different. She was like, I know. Cody, her husband, she was like, I can't believe that's Shannon. I was like, Jesus.
Oh my God. Not being like, yeah, no, me too. She's like, yeah, Shannon, you look totally different.
No, I had like jowls. It's really crazy. Anyways, that was like a terrible outfit. I'm wearing this like purple people eater like fur jacket from Forever 21. It's just awful. Okay. Anyways.
Mine's not that great either, but like yours is bad.
Bad. Okay, so we go through and we basically, I'm saying like, you're going to have to interview with her. It's just like for formality. She wants to have a second interview with everyone. Taylor's like, okay, that's weird, but all right. Okay, so I need to say this because in that scene, basically we start role playing like what it would be like. And I'm like, I'm going to be Kristen. You're interviewing for the job. And Taylor like rolls her eyes and I'm like, no, take it seriously. And she's like, okay. And I start pretending to be Kristen. I start mocking her. I really like... That was pretty bold, okay? And I think what it was, I'm not trying to give myself an excuse, but I really was like trying to make good TV and try to just be ballsy, which I guess it did make for good TV because people watching that,
100%.
I rewatched that and was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that girl's doing that, but the girl's me. But I literally start going like this. I'm like, okay, I'm Kristen, I'm interviewing you. So Taylor, I start flipping my hair all around. I'm like, so tell me about like, and I start talking like a Valley girl and flipping my hair. And I'm like rewatching that, cringing, like that is so shitty for me to do, like pretending to be my boss, but whatever. I let it go. I pretend to interview you, whatever. I say like a bunch of stuff that I think Kristen will ask you. Mm-hmm. We're joking about it. I need to say this part. Never forget. So Kristen was an executive producer on the show, which means that she saw all these episodes after they had their first cut, their second cut probably. She approved all the episodes before they went live and she was allowed to make any edits that she wanted. So Kristen did see that episode before. She would have seen it months before it aired, right? Do you remember when we were rewatching the show? We didn't get that privilege, obviously. We only saw the episode the day before. When we were rewatching that episode live with the rest of the world, we were live tweeting at the time. We were always tweeting like our thoughts about it. I tweeted at Kristen. I tweeted like, can she come in for a round 2 interview at Taylor, something like that. Kristen wrote back to me. Kristen texted me that night. She was like, hey girl, I definitely don't have the text, but she was basically like, hey girl, I really want to just like talk to you about the way you're speaking about me on the show. And you really need to rein it in and tone it down a notch. Like the way you're like mocking me and what you're doing and talking about me as your boss on the show is absolutely inappropriate and it's not acceptable. And I need you to like reel it in. I remember she said, reel it in. I need you to reel it in because it's not okay the way you're like talking about me on the show. And it's like embarrassing to me to like have to see this. And I was like, wait,
is confusing.
I wrote back because, oh my God, I cannot believe I talked to my boss like this. But I wrote back like, I'm confused. You would have seen this episode 3 months ago. Why didn't you say something 3 months ago? But what I think really happened was, my face is like hot thinking about that. Like, why did I talk to my boss like that? But I think what happened is I think all of her friends and maybe like people online were like, holy shit, I can't believe she's talking about her boss like that. And then she was like, wait, yeah. She can't talk about her boss like that.
We're making a TV show.
I know, but I think
she knows that.
I know, but I think she was like, the lines were blurred. Again, the lines were blurred. So, okay, so obviously I was like, I cannot believe I did that. But I do remember thinking like, Kristen, why now are you telling this to me? But anyways, that was like a big deal. Like she texted me like how you mocked me was absolutely not appropriate. And I was like, fuck. Okay. So, internally cringed at that. And then the next scene is also, by the way, I know I've said this before, but I skipped past all of the Kelly Canadian guy from Canada. It's not really like pertinent to me rewatching the episode. So skip past that. There was a lot of that in these last 2 episodes, but, it switches to me and Taylor. I'm picking her up from her house and there is the classic dashboard cam.
Oh, hate.
Never forget. We'll tell you why in a second, the dashboard cam. But basically, they like strapped the cameras obviously to the dashboard of my Chevy Equinox. Shouts out. And they recorded me taking Taylor to her interview. That was our idea, right?
To drive together?
Yeah.
Yeah. We asked if we could, and they were like, would you guys normally do that? We were like, yeah.
Yes. Would you guys, they're like, well, this is real. So would you normally take her to her job interview? And I was like, yes. And they were like, that's weird, but all right, then do it. And so we're like, okay.
Because they can only see us now.
Yeah. Like we don't do like actually the other
You're
day.
in the room when I give birth. Of course you're driving me to my job interview.
Job interview. Okay. So anyways, it's us driving to the interview. Taylor's like chilling. I'm like, I'm nervous, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, have fun. She's like, let me know how it goes. Now, this is where our heads are at in this moment. Mm-hmm. So blatantly unaware. Where was your head at?
I was like, I'm about to walk in to do my scene. It's my call time, and I'm
literally
everyone is on board. This is for show. Like put on your game face, like you're going in to apply for this job.
And then I was like, perfect. Now I get to start filming with Taylor way more. She's gonna get the job. She's gonna be at work all the time. It's gonna be fantastic. Cool. She goes into the interview. I really am. The shock on my face. You see it. Like if you rewatch this episode, you see the shock on my face when Taylor comes back. So basically she does the interview. The interview is, I'm not even going to make you rewatch it because like you'll just die.
I don't have to rewatch it. I remember.
It was, I'm not kidding. It was so brutal. It was Taylor being like, yeah, like I've done retail before, blah, blah, blah. And Kristen's like, so basically I'm not going to hire you because you're Shannon's friend. She does do, and this is like the only issue I do have. And again, maybe Kristen was like, I was doing it for the show. Who knows? But like, Kristen really did. If you were to say like a professional setting, like that is like, I think inappropriate to talk about someone else so much in someone's interview. Mm-hmm. Like she basically was like, Shannon has a lot of issues at work. And you know, if she's the one vouching for you, then honestly, it's not a really good person to vouch for you. And I was like, okay. And then she just basically said like, you know, she's not a good employee. I can't have you as her friend here. And it just like roasted me to Taylor and was basically like, that's why you're not going to get hired. Sorry. Like I can't just have all these cliques of girls around. And Taylor's like, okay, yeah. And then she was like, you were like being really sweet. You were like, well, I think I'd be a really good fit. I think you'd be really happy with me working here. And I
didn't know what to say in that moment because literally, and sometimes I do think back
and
I'm
like,
why didn't I? Oh my God, are you joking?
Like all of a sudden, like,
of course I knew in the very moment when I saw it going south or felt it going south, I was like, oh, I'm being set up right now. This is a setup. I was
this is a setup.
This was a setup to make me look so stupid, first of all. And by the producers, which is quite literally their job.
Yeah.
To like create the drama, set us up and whatever. And like, I get it. It's for show. But the way in that moment that sometimes I think back to this, I'm like, why didn't I do that? Because like what footage would they have had to like make the scene so good?
You can't because I did that when I got fired and they will find it. They will find it.
But like I almost in that moment like looked away and like looked directly at the camera being like, wait, I'm confused. Why am I here then? This is fake. Like in that moment, what if I had done that? Instead, I played pretty and I was like, okay, well, call me if you change your mind or like whatever I said. Like I was like, this is okay and embarrassing.
Oh gosh, Kristen was like, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say no. Like it was so. She's like, for now, she's like, but we'll keep you in mind. You know, you're gonna model for us still. So
Don't I like pause in that moment because I'm like, that was when I was thinking, I'm like, brain, what do I do right now? Do I break the fourth wall or do I just go with the show and like? Remember? They show me kind of pause.
They show you pause. You're like,
I'm like, okay.
You're like,
I'm like, this is embarrassing on TV, but no one knows the real situation.
Yeah. So, and we also were threatened heavily. Not like threatened, that sounds aggressive, but like we made it very clear that like you can never tell anyone that any of this is fake or like you cannot do that. You guys have contracts signed.
Do not break the fourth wall.
So anyways,
Good thing it's been 25 years and now contracts are over.
Thank God it's been 25 years. Thank God it's 2025 and it's been 25 years since we were on the show. Okay, it's still boiling hot in Tennessee. Like, I'm not sure when the end is in sight, but I'll tell you what I do. I try to manifest it getting cooler. So I'm starting to transition or starting to at least get some more fall staple pieces, okay? Shifting the wardrobe from summer to fall. And it's always a challenge, you know. Luckily, Quince offers timeless and high-quality items that I adore. staples, like I said, ensuring that my wardrobe stays fresh, but also that I don't blow my budget. All right. Now, something about me, I love, especially in this like transition period of weather, I love putting like a cashmere sweater with like a really nice like jean short or something. You know, you got a little warmth, you got a little cool option. But cashmere's expensive, okay? But not when you get it from Quince. It's real cashmere. It's real cashmere sweaters from $50. Pants for every occasion, washable silk tops. That's right. I said the words washable and silk in the same sentence, and they're also genuinely so affordable. And the best part is all Quince items are so affordable because they're priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Now, they do this by partnering directly with the top factories. I love that. It's so cool. So like Quince cuts out the cost for the middleman and they pass on those savings to us. Genius. We love you, Quince. Like, thank you so much. And Quince only works with factories, this is my favorite part, that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices with premium fabrics, of course, and finishes, which I love. But I love that they're working in ethical factories. It's very important. Like, they're not cutting costs in that way, and that just matters to me. So if you want a cashmere sweater, they have one in this like cobalt blue color that's just divine. I have 2 of their washable silk tops. I have like a black one and a white one that I just pair with so many things. I'm just obsessed. I'm obsessed. I also got like a camel colored cashmere sweater. They're like light and airy, but they're cashmere, baby. Like, they're just amazing. So make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high-quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/probably for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/probably to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/probably. Basically, then comes the you walk to the car. You can see the shock on my face. I'm literally like, and
You
you're
couldn't
like,
tell yet, right?
no,
Okay.
you get in the car, you go, take me home, please. And I go,
Oh,
ha
yeah.
ha, and you go, I'm serious. And I go, you're kidding. You go, nope. She said no. And I go, you're kidding.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, take me home. And I was like, because I am Taylor's best friend, and because I rarely see her mad like that. And I also felt like she was mad at me because I was on like, come on, do it. And like, I literally felt so bad for so many reasons, but I also just knew in that moment, like, she is fucking pissed. Okay, now let me tell you what happened next. Taylor then tells me everything that you see on the episode, which is like, yeah, I didn't get the job because of you, apparently. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, she said, you're not a good reference. She said, if you're the one vouching for me, that's probably the worst person that could vouch for me. She said that you fuck up all the time, and I was like, she said that? And you're like, yeah. Apparently you're just not a good employee, and that's why I didn't get hired. And then she goes on, she was like, she just said, which really, if you watch back the interview scene, that is why Kristen said you weren't getting hired. Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, she's like, you couldn't break the fourth wall. So she's like, yeah, so anyways, I'm not getting the job, so just take me home. I am so irate in that moment. I'm so pissed. This is so stupid what I do next. I don't know why at the time I was like, I fucking showed them. I got them. I take my shirt off. I was wearing like a tank top and then like a sweater over it. I take my shirt off and because we can't operate or control the car dash cams. We rip our mics off and I throw my shirt over the cam, and I'm like, they're not getting any of this footage. They don't get to see me upset. We leave. Do you not remember that?
I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh. They were messaging me like, take the shirt off. And I just drove straight to your house. We pulled in and you and I just unleashed about everything.
I was like,
and they were trying to come in with cameras and we were like, nope. And I was like, you guys fucking set us up. And they were like, we had no idea she was going to say no. And I was like, y'all knew. How could you do that? This is so embarrassing. Duh, it's their literal job.
We're like, this is TV, babe.
They're like, this is literally, you're all on board when you were making fun of Brittany, but not now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I like would not let the cameras in the house. We were like just furious. Taylor was like, I'm so embarrassed. She's like, people are going to watch this TV show and think I can't get a retail job. She offered me the job. I said no months ago.
That was tough.
It was just like a whole thing. We freak out. They're like, Shannon, obviously they were able to eventually let me calm down and talk me off the ledge. They're like, you need to go to Kristen's, you need to go to the store and talk to Kristen. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to the store and talking to Kristen. And they're like, I think you're really upset right now. I think it would really help if you talk to Kristen. I'm like, that's the last person I want to talk to right now. They're like, we think for the show, we think that it would make sense. They basically are like, you have to go. We have to film you talking to Kristen. And they did make me feel bad. They were like, this is your job filming this show. And for you to throw a shirt over the camera and then not let us in to get y'all's real and raw reactions. Like, can you give us something? Can you go to the store with Kristen? And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. And they were like, we have camera guys. They basically made it make sense to me. Whereas like people are here, like filming, recording sound, recording audio.
We ripped our own mics off, didn't we?
Yes.
Where? In the car?
In the car. We had a switch to turn the mics off.
I don't remember that. I just remember taking it off, being like, what do I do with this?
Yeah, we took it off and then we turned it off. And so, which is like a huge no-no. And they basically told me like, you're wasting time, energy, and money for this like production crew. That's like not cool. And I was like, I am sorry about that. So they're like, we would love if you could go in and speak with Kristen on camera. I'm like, ugh. So I go in. I'm emotionally charged so much. I wrote some notes down. Kristen, before I go in to speak with her, they do have this like interview section with Kristen where she's like, you know, like, what do you call them? Confessionals or whatever, where Kristen's like says a bunch of nice stuff about me really quick. And I'm like, I wonder if they like put that in there. Like, oh, make me sound nice about Shannon for a second. Cause she was like, Shannon's like my little sister, you know, like she grew this company with me. Like she's from the very beginning. Like I love her. And then I come in and then Kristen just honestly like annihilates me. I like was like, I don't understand why I was brought up in Taylor's interview so much. I don't know why you clearly don't trust me as an employee. You said so many horrible things about me and she couldn't deny any of them. The only thing she said was like, I never said you fuck up all the time. I was like, okay, sorry, those probably weren't your words, but you said like, I keep having issues all the time with you frequently. And she was like, okay. And I was like, I just don't understand. Like at this point, why do I work for you if you feel this way about me so much that you brought it up continuously in someone else's interview? And she was like, oh my gosh, what? Why do you work for me? And I was like, no, seriously, like if you distrust me this much, and I meant that, this was all coming from the heart, but the most annoying thing about me personally as a human being is when I'm upset, when I'm angry, I cry. And so I started getting choked up and I really think this is super uncool of her. She was like, started calling me a child. She was like, Shannon's acting like one of my children right now. She's literally throwing a tantrum just like one of my children. So I'm having to talk to her like she's a child and calm her down like a baby. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was just like getting choked up. And I don't know, I'm like, if HR existed back then. But she basically was like, Shannon is being per usual extra and emotional. And I'm like, these day and age, I don't really know if you would have said that about like an employee, like you're being emotional,
like,
you're being
shutting down.
Yeah, I was like, and anyway, she was just like brutal. She was like, this is exactly why Taylor can't work here because this energy that you're giving is so emotional, so whatever. And I was like, no, I just don't understand why you were so mean about me in Taylor's interview. Like it doesn't make sense. But really what I wanted to scream was, y'all all said she would get the job. Like I don't understand. Yeah. And so anyways, that was a really brutal part for us filming the show. I don't think I had another moment like that filming the show until obviously the last episode where I get fired, which we'll touch on later on as the finale. But like, yeah, that was like probably I would say the most brutal of anything because it was for the first time ever. Like we really got duped. We got like bitch slapped by producers, I feel like. So it was tough. It was tough for us. Taylor eventually forgived me. I did say, what was it? What did I say at the end? I say something, there's a line where I say something at the end. It doesn't have anything to do with you getting hired or fired, but I go like this. I go, Kristen finally said I was right. She said I was right about something at the end of this episode. And I go, hallelujah. And then I go like this and I go, or whatever those people do. You guys, the Catholic community did not like that. Oh, I remember on Twitter, they were like, those people? And I was like, the Catholics, I didn't know who did it. I'm not Catholic, but like they really... At least 4 people were very upset by that.
That was like one of the beginning phases of when we didn't understand how you could really piss people on the internet off.
Yeah.
And like how much backlash you get
me
from
Googling
stuff.
like, can you get canceled from the Catholic community? Like, I'm like, oh, no. The Catholic community has a lot more to worry about than me, okay? Let's just put that there. But if you're Catholic, I love you. And, you know.
She didn't mean it.
You're not all bad. I didn't mean that. But now I know that the Catholics are the ones that do this.
You're still doing it wrong.
Well, I'm not Catholic, so.
You just went.
Hey, Macarena. All right. No, okay. Okay, this is an absolute, this is a dedication of my love. I need to put it on record here as if I don't often enough, but I just love bread, okay? Bread will always be a part of my life. I'm obsessed with bread. I'll never stop eating it. Like, I would just literally die if I was gluten-free, okay? I'm just so happy that I can eat so much bread. But I try to get good for you bread, okay? I'm not quite yet at the point in my life where I make my own sourdough, so I just want to make sure that the bread that I'm consuming is good. And especially during the summer, we're doing a lot of grilling, a lot of outdoor entertaining, and let me tell you what's essential to us. That's going to be some buns. We got burgers. We got hot dogs. We have sandwiches. I'm a huge sandwich girly. When we go on the lake, like, you better believe I'm making a sandwich and they're going to be phenomenal. So just because it is summer does not mean that you have to cut out all of your carb-heavy foods you love. Honestly, whatever time of year it is, you don't have to cut out carb-heavy foods. Now, I'm just a girl. I also want to monitor the amount of carbs I'm having, okay? But Hero Bread is literally my hero because they reinvented the bread and buns that make summer great, that make every season great because they're fluffy, delicious. They have this flavor. They have texture. A lot of times when you hear of like a company taking some carbs away and adding in protein or something like Hero Bread is done, you're like, okay, yeah, but what does it taste like? And what's the texture? But here's the thing. It's just as fluffy and delicious as regular bread with no net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, and fewer calories. Plus, here's the important part, protein and fiber. I have the hardest time getting protein in. Like, James can just eat like a 27-ounce steak, and I'm just like not that girl. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get protein in wherever I can get in. And fiber, obviously, very important as well. So they also have, this is my favorite part. Okay, so I always loved they have like brioche. They have all of these amazing buns for burgers, hamburgers, sliced bread. They've got these like tortilla wraps, but this new thing came out, and I am their biggest fan. They have Hawaiian rolls. Hero Bread makes Hawaiian rolls now. I'm obsessed with making those like Hawaiian roll like summer sliders, but these are a bit more guilt-free. You know what I mean? You feel better about it. I put my ham, I put my poppy seed little mixture with the butter and the mustard. I'm just obsessed. Like I am obsessed. It's so good, and I feel good whenever I have it. Okay, so Hawaiian rolls definitely my favorite. The burgers and their brioche buns, amazing. We love to make breakfast tacos with the tortillas. We just like the options are endless. Okay, and with their sliced breads, I do like a French toast. Obviously sandwiches, obviously, but it's just amazing. And it's compared to others less healthy bread products. This really is so yummy. And like I said, the texture is still amazing. It's really nice that I know I'm getting enough fiber. I'm cutting down on sugar. And like I said, I'm adding more protein. I just love that. It's all your favorites, no consequences, no compromising. Like I said, 0 to 1 grams of net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, and it's really high in fiber. So the soft, fluffy experience that you will love while you're having a juicy hot dog on a summer day or a refreshing BLT. Now, me personally, I'm a Southern girly, so like I love a tomato sandwich, which is just like their sliced bread, tomatoes, mayonnaise, and salt and pepper. It's so good. But obviously, we use their buns for cheeseburgers, which are amazing. Their sliced bread loaves, their buns or tortillas, the options are endless, okay? And they also have these popular 2-gram net carb hero croissants. I love a croissant. I love a croissant that I can feel better about having. So if you want to keep the carbs out of summer without compromising on your flavor with Hero Bread, then you can get 10% off your order at hero.co and use code probably at checkout. That's code probably at hero.co. Hero.co, code probably. So then there was episode 5. Do you remember the picnic scene? Obviously.
No.
The picnic scene in the park with me, you, Worth, Kat, Mike, John Gurney.
Yeah, I had just been out that I was pregnant.
Okay, so let's give a preamp to the actual show. If you're rewatching the show with us, this is episode 5. And let's talk about what was happening behind the scenes. Let's break down all the fakeness of this episode, because this was, I would venture to say.
This is the pregnancy episode?
Yes. This is the pregnancy. This is the fakest episode for our part, I would say. The previous episode, I know we said the job was fake, everything. We gave you all the layers of that. But that episode was real in the sense that everything that happened really happened. So none of it was like, that was fake, that was fake, that was fake. It was a real episode, right? Episode 5, our scenes were extremely, extremely manufactured and fake.
Like straight up lines were told to me to kind of like make sure I said.
Yes. Okay. So let's go through what was happening actually in your real life at this time.
Okay.
Taylor had everything had just happened with this whole firing scene.
Yeah.
I get a text. Not firing, the not getting the job scene. I get a text. I don't think I can do Very Cavallari anymore.
This was how many days later? Maybe like a week.
A week later.
Maybe a week.
I get a text. I don't think I can film Very Cavallari anymore. I'm like, oh my God. I literally was basically on my hands and knees apologizing for what happened with the interview. And she's like, it's not your fault. And I'm like, no, it is my fault. I feel so bad. It put you in such a weird position. I'm the one that told you to do that. So when she sends me this text, I'm like, fuck, we're back here again. She's pissed at the producer. She's pissed at Kristen. She doesn't want to look stupid. She's like, I can't film anymore.
Come over right now. I need to talk to you. Like it was something emergent.
And Mike got us McDonald's breakfast or something.
I literally think I texted you. I said, stop what you're doing. Please come over right now. Yeah. And you like no questions did come over, which was honestly great.
Oh, I do that now. So I go over to her house. Also, I literally had nothing going on in my life. What? Yeah. So I go over to your house. You were still living at your house with a bunch of girls at this time. You and Mike were sitting there. He got me like McDonald's, and you looked at me. This is so true. It's in person. You look at me. You go. I don't think I can. I literally feel like you were in the shirt.
I'm wearing
the shirt. Because you're in the pocket. Okay, you're in the shirt. I'm freaking out. Okay, you're in this shirt. This is your dad's old shirt or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're in this shirt. You look at me. I just got so hot because I'm like, wait, you're in that shirt.
We played at the same time because I was like, I pulled it out of my pocket.
Yes. Okay. She looks at me. She's like, SheShe, and she like stepped down. She's like, sit down. I'm like, what the fuck are you about to tell me? She's like, SheShe, and then Mike's sitting there. He's obviously on board with whatever she's about to say. She's like, I don't think I can do the show anymore. And I said, okay, I know what happened was a lot. And she was like, no. SheShe, I don't think I can film the show anymore. And I said, okay, I want you to right now. And I mean, I was trying to be a good friend. I would be supportive. I said, I want you to right now, for real, if you can give me, and break them down and explain them, if you can give me 2 good reasons that you can't do the show right now, 2, then I'll hear you out. What do you do?
I grab my pocket and I take out 2 pregnancy tests.
It was okay. You couldn't have written a better scene than that, actually.
2. I know. I'm like, where are the cameras?
She had 2 because she wanted to make sure. So
I was making sure.
And I had randomly said, give me 2 good reasons that you can't do the show right now.
I was like,
she pulls out 2. Like, that really is a script.
Hold them up like this. And Shannon's face just goes.
I was like, but what did I immediately go? I go, okay, well that's a good reason. I was like, okay, yeah, oh, okay.
I think I blacked out, but I don't really remember your reaction.
I was shook to my core.
You really were like, oh my God.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And Mike's like, yeah. And I go, okay.
And then I started crying.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is a good reason you can't do the show. Then she starts crying, and then I immediately do, which is my real reaction. I'm like, no, don't be upset. And you were like, what am I gonna do? And I was like, no, don't be upset. And then you do start kind of saying everything that we said in this scene, because they tried so hard with this fake scene to like make it look real. And I was like, let's just try to say the stuff that we said during the real time.
Which was like, okay, first of all, I can't be like the knocked up, unmarried bitch.
Yeah, she's like, my parents are gonna be
Shannon's
so upset.
friend. I didn't even have like a main role in the show anymore. Like, what even? I wanted to quit so bad, and I didn't even know how sick I was yet. By the way,
Yeah, so she didn't know she had HG yet.
I didn't even know what the first trimester of pregnancy could even remotely look like at this point. It happened like a week after that.
Yeah. So basically, I tell her to think about it. I'm like, just think about it, and I do remember saying to her, I know that you might not be for this at all, but like, if you were willing to tell the producers this would be a hell of a good storyline. Like, talk about not needing a role at Kristen's store. If you're pregnant, like, this is like cool. And then I did say, I really was like, this is real life. This isn't your Pinterest board. Like, this shit happens to girls. Like, and also, like, no offense, but you're not fucking like 15 and you're not on like teenage, what's it called? Teen moms back in the day. I'm like, but show people that this is life and this is what happens.
I grew up in Alabama.
Yeah,
I'm from the South. This shit can't be happening.
She got married at 24, but in Alabama, that's not a child bride.
Not at all. Quite literally, I was late.
Yeah, she was like late to the party.
No.
But anyway, so basically, I convinced her. I think I basically convinced you. Like, you need to still be on the show.
Yeah, the tables returned.
I was like,
sure.
Yeah, you need to be on the show. This is so good. Show people that like life happens. This is life. Like, whatever. You're in love. Who cares if you're not married? Like, she's finally like, shut up. Just shut up.
Well, I was also like kind of a bit in a bind of like, I think I was like a little contractually obligated to still do stuff. No,
I mean, they can't.
I
Force you
couldn't
to
just
film.
like quit a show, right?
You could. Basically, Taylor agrees. Like, I'll tell the producers. So, we go to this scene where we're at this picnic. Taylor decides right before the picnic scene, she's going to pull the main two producers aside, and her and Mike are going to tell them.
Break the news.
I was so pissed at the time because I wanted to be there when she told them, and Mike was like, no, me and Taylor need to do this alone. And I was like, wait, what? I was literally like, I'm pregnant with her. What? I was like, okay, that's so weird.
Cue the start of Mike wanting to do shit,
Yeah.
just us two. I was like, no.
I was like, wait, what? No. And so anyways, so they pull him aside. I'm sitting in the car, like, anxiously, like, what did you say? And tell me how that went, telling the producers.
I don't remember at all.
They were just kind of like, okay, cool.
Couldn't remember at all.
They
acted like normal human beings.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, congrats. But it wasn't like an exciting feeling to me at the time. It
And
was
they
still
did
like
say, I remember they said, we don't have to talk about this on the camera if you don't want to.
well, that was a lie. What
Yeah.
a bold-faced lie that was. What the moment I told them that I was pregnant, their brains were like, blah, 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 like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
True.
And then I so ignorantly was like, ignorant's not the right word. I was so blind to the fact that their jobs as producers are quite literally to like bust my secret. And I kept saying, I was like, I just don't want to tell anybody yet. Like, I'm still
You were
so
really
early.
early, yeah.
I was so early. Like, I didn't, yeah. So, and I thought I could trust them, and that was my mistake.
Anyways, we go to the picnic scene. It's a really fun picnic scene. I think this is when you and I like fell in love with Kat even more. We're like, wait, she's so cool.
I had just met Kat
Yeah,
that day.
and I loved hanging out with her. It was really cool. Basically, there's not much. They're like playing football. Okay, so then the next scene is I'm at the store with Brittany and Reagan, and they basically have to figure out. Taylor eventually tells the producers, okay, fine, I'll film me and Shannon admitting I'm pregnant on the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
and so we get to the store, and they're like, okay, we have to set this up right. We need to lay the groundwork that you're sick, that you're not feeling good in the morning. So I call Taylor. I pretend like I had a social media photo shoot for her that day, and I'm like, hey, are you still able to come in today? And she was like, oh, sorry. It literally sounds like the fucking scene from Mean Girls where Karen's like, I can't come in. I'm sick. You literally are like, hey, I think I'm sick. I'm like, oh no. You're like, yeah, I don't know. My stomach's hurting. I'm feeling really nauseous. And I was like, oh no. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll just have everyone else do the model. I'm like, I hope you feel better soon. And you're like, yeah, bring me some French fries. And I'm like, okay. And then we hang up, and that like lays the groundwork. And then the next scene, cue us going, and they decide, I remember we had filmed all day that day doing something else. And we film a scene where we have to be at Taylor's house or Taylor's apartment. My apartment would not let us film there. And then your house,
My landlord said no.
Your landlord said no. So there was a guy that was living in Nashville because he was working on the production side of things, and he let us use his apartment that he was renting for the whole time. And then literally it was in East Nashville. It was a really cool apartment. Like I remember being like, ooh, they're gonna think we're rich and this is our apartment. And Taylor's like, yeah. And then I didn't have another outfit because I'd already filmed in the outfit I was in. They literally were like, okay, can you put your hair in a ponytail, because my hair was down. Can you put your hair in a ponytail, and can we give you this, like, it was a 3XL black hoodie, which I'm going to be completely frank right now. Like, the man who had been wearing it all day on set, perspirated a lot in it. Okay. And they were like, can you put this hoodie on? And just like, so that's what I'm wearing in the scene. And it's literally the sound guy's hoodie. And I'm like, okay. So I have my hair in a ponytail. I got this black hoodie on that's not mine. And then I walk into, I think they set the scene like it was your apartment kind of.
Yeah.
And I come over to bring you like soup and stuff because you're still sick. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, hey, and I'm like, are you still sick? And then I pretend to sit far away from you. You were like, I don't think it's contagious. And I was like, still, I can't take any chances. And this is where dead ass, they gave us lines. They're like, you're going to take a pregnancy test. Shannon shows up with them. I say to them, that's not real. I would never show up. If she told me she was feeling sick and like she like didn't feel good, I would never bring pregnancy tests. They're like, well, you would today. And I'm like, okay. Like, there were parts of this where like, we had to tell them like, we wouldn't do that. That's not real. And so they're like, okay. And then they basically gave us lines. They're like, you're going to ask her how she's feeling. She's going to say she's still sick. You're going to kind of say like, maybe then you bring you're like, well, I brought these. And then Taylor, you're going to be like, why did you bring those? Act like you can't even believe that, whatever. And then you jokingly say to me at the time, like, I'm going to go pee on this right now. I'm not pregnant. And then you're like, why do you
I'm like, I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah. And you're like, why do you even have those? And I was like, me and John are very active. Like, literally, I still cringe at that line. Like, why did I say that? Anyways, she goes in. I think I remember at the time I was so broke. I was like, I'm not buying those pregnancy tests for her. By the way, you have to buy them. And they were like, we'll buy them. So Taylor goes. She obviously pees on the stick. We did pretty good acting.
Oh, we did like class. What am I trying to say? Grade A acting.
Grade A acting. When I went back and watched it, sorry, not went back and watched it. When we watched it originally, when it aired, you and I were like, oh God, this scene was so fake. Here we go. And we were both like, hey, we did a pretty good job.
People, when they found out that it was fake, literally were like in disbelief because they were like, no, if that scene is fake, then you need to give these girls a Grammy or an Oscar. What is it?
Was
Oscar?
Really good. It was good. It was good acting.
It was good.
So anyways, she said she's pregnant. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then she does the same thing that she did when she actually told me she was pregnant. Like, what are my parents going to say? Like, what's Mike going to say? Or sorry. Yeah. Because the whole setup was that she hadn't told Mike yet.
Yeah. Which would just like never in a million years.
Mike was like pretty bothered by that
Mike
at the time.
was very mad.
He was like,
why would you reshoot the scene? This isn't what happened. I'm like, because it's TV. Like, he didn't get it.
We were like, it's TV. He's like, yeah. So everyone's going to think I found out that my girlfriend was pregnant via like a phone call. Via a phone call, I don't know, and you were like, it just doesn't matter, and he was like, it does matter to me. That's not how it happened. You and I found out we were pregnant together. And
Mike was so sentimental.
He was very sentimental and
emotional. Yeah, that was interesting.
I say what I said in real life. I say, this isn't Pinterest. This is your life. It's such a Oh, I loved that you said this. You were like, because you said this to me whenever you actually found out you're pregnant. You were like, I have a lot of friends right now that are really trying to get pregnant and can't. And you were like, I really am trying to like realize that this is a blessing. And like, it's really a beautiful thing that I am gonna like have a baby. And I remember being like rewatching that a second ago going, oh, that's so sweet and so true. So it was really nice. Yeah, pat yourself on the back. And then the scene ends with us screaming together, we're pregnant. Yeah. And I did say at one point, I go, you're going to be fatter than me for the first time in my life. This is the best day ever. Like, I was like, yay.
Do you remember having to reshoot that over and over again, by the way?
Yes.
It took a lot of scenes.
Maybe that's why.
Like, 10 times.
We really weren't that good of actresses, actually. We just reshot it 17 times. And they pulled the clips from each one that we sounded good in. And then the episode ends with this Oscar viewing party. So the whole concept was Kristen was going to LA for the Oscars because she was doing like live on the red carpet or whatever. And that was a pretty cringe thing. Like, why would we ever, if our boss was going to be on the red carpet, why would we ever throw an Oscars viewing party to watch her commentate on the red carpet? And we all dressed up like we were going to the Oscars and had like a red carpet.
They were so desperate for like a scene, I think. Like,
and then we like had to pretend. We were like, yay! And then it was a green screen. We were watching a green screen. Yeah, and they were like, now you're excited.
Stupid.
They're like, now y'all are impressed with what Kristen's wearing. And we're like, wow, Slay, you look so good.
Oh, no, I don't ever want to rewatch that ever in my entire life.
It was tough. Again, I really wish the show was 25 years ago. And then the boys had those Amazon suits on with the flowers. You remember that? John and Mike matched. They looked so weird. Then at the time we were like, so cool. And then they teased the beach trip that's coming up. So the next episode, we will recap the beach trip. I don't know who will be on for that. Yeah, so we only have a few episodes left. We'll see. I told you guys I am going to reach out to Brittany. I'll reach out to Kristen, TBD on their answers. You know, I just don't know. I don't know. But I think that'd be cool to have them on and get their perspective. And yeah, TT, thanks for being here. Let's talk about your life now. You don't just be pregnant with one kid. You got free.
I got 3 of them.
How's
All
that
3 of
doing?
them.
Being a mom, what is going on like right now in your life? Lola's being cute as literal shit.
Got 3 kids. What am I doing? I
Just
don't
the
know.
kids.
Just kids.
She's renovating her house and it looks gorgeous. You put in some new carpet today.
Renovations, kids, hanging out with you. That's about it.
Honestly, dream life. Dream life if I've ever heard of one. TT, thanks for coming on and recapping these cringe episodes. I love you so much. That is so crazy that you're in the same shirt.
That is weird.
That's
But we
nuts.
never filmed in this, so that's sad.
Yeah, true.
I almost wore the shirt over here that I was getting not hired in. So
By mistake.
clearly I need to upgrade my wardrobe.
Yeah, you've had things for a while, my girl.
I've had them for 25 years.
That is actually crazy because I was going to rewear that purple fur jacket. Like I think if you like honestly like blew a vape too close to it, it would catch on fire. Like the syntheticness of that jacket. All right, love you guys so much. Thanks for listening to another episode of Very Cavallari Recap. Very Cavallari Recap. Thanks to it's brought to you in part by this sparkly fizzy.
First response.
It's brought to you by First Response. Love you guys. Bye.
Stupid.